Hello, it's me Kudriyah. Now I will explain my instructional design midterm assignment about the format, lesson plan, and unit test. First is about my unit test, and the topic is language features of procedure text. So let's move into my part one of the unit test. My part one unit test is about action verb that is used in a procedure text. That action verb itself is such as take, cook, pour, and others. And why I choose a test with fill in the blank is kind of the test that easy test because the student just have to choose the right given action verb and put it in the sentence that it's need to complete. And it is considered easy to student because if they can and complete it, it means they know how to use the action verb in procedure text. Next, move to my part 2 of my unit test, and it is about other builds of sequence that is included in my procedure text language of features. And why I choose this kind of test that is arranging several sentences as a medium task, it is because I want my students understand how to use the other builds of sequence in procedure of text such as first, next, then, and others. Also, but they know how to arrange the scrambled sentences to complete text of procedure of text. It means they understand fully what is procedure text and the other builds of sequence. So move to the part 3 of the unit test is about adverbials and action verb tenses. It is a combination of the part 1 and part 2 of the unit test. The kind of this test is make a procedure text by completing the given adverbials of sequence and some of the action verbs. So why I choose this kind of test and why I consider it as a hard test? I choose this kind of test because this test will show how the students understand about the first topic and the second topic, and it is considered hard because this kind of test making a text, it is another high level of understanding the material. That means it's not just know about the material but also now know how to use the topic that delivered in procedure text. So that are my explanation of my unit test that I made. So now I will explain my format lesson plan. So the topic is same about language feature of procedure text. Why I choose to explain my unit test first? It is because I think I have to understand fully of my unit test because I will use one of my unit tests in my format lesson plan so that I can explain my format lesson plan easily. So now it's my lesson plan. The topic is about language features of procedure text. Why I choose this? Because I want my student know how to make a text that is instructing to do something or explain how something works. And the materials that needed, why I want to use it, it is because I want a perfect explanation in my class. So I need that materials. And now is entering the instructional sequence. First sequence, I want to have 10-minute time lunch because it just force warms up of the class, and so the teacher focus is about the warm up. Why I choose the greet students and pray before starting the class? Because it is an activity that must to do it in Indonesia, and it is like become a traditions. Checking attendance list also habitual for every teacher checking for students are not the present that are present or not in that class. And for the third type, it is because the point of view of my lesson plan, it is week 3 of the meeting. And why I choose that kind of motivations? Because I want the student know that today's meeting is the last meeting for the final assignment, and also for the last sub. Why I have to explain why the purpose of today's topics, because I want my student aware what are they going to learn, so that after explanation I will show them several questions about previous topics so that they can recall all materials that have been learning in the last 2 weeks. And for the student activity, what will student do? On the first stop, I want this because I want my student to pay attention to the opening of the class. And for the second stop, I want my student to recall back all material that have been delivered. And for the third sub, I want it because I want my student to enthusiastic and more encouraged to learn the material till the end. For the last sub, I want my student to answer it because if they can accomplish it, it means they still remember and understand the previous materials. And move to second sequence, I want to have 25-minute time lunch because in this section the teacher focus I want to read teaching the content that I've been delivered before. And so the teaching content is first showing the text on the slide. That one, that is because I want that way because I want my student can have picture of procedure text so that they can remember again the materials. Second sub, we explain the materials because it is will help the student to have better understanding of the materials after we reteach it. Also by showing the important keys of materials will make them easy to learn the material. And for the last sub, by giving time to student to ask questions to teachers, it will make student can say what they don't understand. Also, teacher work for the several example in the slide will not make the student to think of the others or fathers. And for the student activity, what will student do? In the first sub, student I read and see. It will have the metacognitive of learning. By the second sub, taking a note it must for several students because they have this different metacognitive of learning that some of students can just learn by listening or reading, but some of students they have to taking a note to learn. So this is kind of tech is must to apply it. And the last sub also related to how to student learn that there are also some students can understand the material by asking questions or speaking out loud. So move to the third sequence about I need like 25-minute time lunch because in this section the teacher focus I want to teach the student to practice about materials that I've been delivered before. And so the practice in the first sub by assigning the class book I want the student to practice of exercise in the different ways. And the second sub by grouping that will make student understanding more wider and by grouping that will help each other to understand together. And also for the third sub by reviewing all the answers as class it will make see what is the right one and what is the wrong one, and so the teacher will easy to re-explain if any answers are wrong. And the last up by reviewing the mistake after the observation of the class will correct the students ways to have better saying in materials or overall. For the student activities, what will student do? In the first sub, it is an activity that must follow after teacher instructions. And for the second sub, by working in group will help student have more point of view of understanding the materials. For the third sub, by reviewing as a class, student can show what they get after learning all the materials and for the missing understanding. So they can see what they still not get after the teaching content. And for the last sub, by taking a note, student can always read it after the class and remember it what they are wrong in. So move to the last sequence. For the last sequence, I want to have 30-minute time lunch because in this session, the teacher focus, I want to give the student a small final assignment test about materials that I've been delivered before. And so the applications, first, for the first sub, teacher give the student material about the adverbials and action verb task together because it is the final week of materials, so that kind of task is given. Also, it is included the two materials from the week 1 and week 2 meetings. So, also the given tasks have to complete individually because the teacher have to see how the student after all 3 weeks and why the student expected to be submit before the class end is because the last sub after all the tests are collected the teacher will review the answers together as a class so that the student have to have courage to ask questions around their understanding all practices. And for the student activity, what will student do? What will student first up by independently completing the task? The student will know how much they have understand the material also by meaning independently itself. It means they cannot asking for help to complete. It for the top and the last sub is related to each other because reviewing together it will help a student to see whether their answers are right or wrong. So that's all for my explanations of my unit 10 lesson plan. I hope all this my explanation can be helpful to my further understanding of the international design. Thank you.